Hello everybody, how are you? My name is Maria. I'm an author, speaker, and empowerment teacher coach. I'm passionate about bringing people on a journey of self-discovery. Are you ready? Over the last 20 years, I've been teaching self-empowerment to groups and individuals on how to be more confident, honest, and at ease in their relationships. Every one of us wants to be in a happy, harmonious, long-lasting relationship. The thing is, what prevents us from being in this type of relationships are our unconscious patterns that come from our unconscious wounds. We act this out in our romantic relationships more so than in any other type of relationship. From the beginning of our life, the way we interact creates a set of limiting beliefs and limiting patterns. They're all unconscious, of course, so we might not be aware of what it is that we're doing. But once we tap into these unconscious patterns, that gives us power. And then we can allow ourselves to come into full awareness of what these patterns are. So then we don't have to react anymore, but we can act from an empowered place, from a place of awareness. We have the ability to choose, and as a result of making these choices, we create the life that we were born to live. The most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself, as every other relationship is a mirror of the one within. I remember when I told a friend that I hadn't seen for many years that I was now working on helping people to create empowered relationships. He couldn't help it but to laugh out loud and said, "Don't you have to be good at relationships to help others?" And I guess he was right, because all those years that he knew me, I was in and out of very unhealthy relationships. Unfortunately, we don't come into this world with a relationship manual. And my parents didn't model a healthy relationship for me. So my starting point was definitely below zero. Because I had no idea on how to be in a relationship that allowed me to be myself, I took all of my sorrows and transformed them into a way of gaining awareness on how to be in an empowered relationship. And in creating my own empowered relationship manual, I was able to find healthy love. I've now been with my husband for over 11 years. We have 3 beautiful children. And when I look at myself, say 15 years ago, my whole understanding and beliefs around what relationships were and where I am today is like, I was back in the dark ages. So now I know that anybody can have a healthy relationship if we really invest in learning how to do that. It is possible to create, because if I've done it, anybody else can. So today I don't believe that you can be in the wrong relationship. Let me explain. I believe that whoever we attract into our life is a reflection of an aspect of ourselves. There are 2 types of attraction going on at the same time. We have a conscious attraction, that is the list of all the things that we want this person to be and the fulfillment of our needs. And then there's another type of attraction, that is an unconscious attraction. These are our emotional wounds and unconscious patterns that we have to heal. My work is devoted to healing that unconscious attraction, the parts of ourselves that we don't love yet. I believe that being in a conscious relationship gives us great opportunities to learn to love ourselves more and to go deeper within the beautiful magnificent people that we are. So let's go straight into what are boundaries. Boundaries can be defined as the limits we set for ourselves in 4 different areas. The first area is the physical area, it's to do with our body, our physicality. So here I set limits of how I want to be touched. It's about respecting the physical body. The next area is the emotional area. We set how we want our emotions to be taken into consideration and be validated. The third area is the mental area. And here is how we set how we want our ideas and perceptions to be listened to and respected. And the last area is the energetic area. We set how we want our energetic space to be respected. And this area is a bit intangible. So we're going to do an exercise later on so that you get a sense of what the energetic space is. So I believe it is our duty to educate people around us how we want our set of boundaries to be respected. Not from a place of aggression or fear, but from a position of love and compassion. And never assume somebody will know your boundaries or that you know their boundaries where they haven't been previously expressed. So for somebody that maybe has experienced some physical trauma, they might not like to be hugged, for example. So if I don't understand this person has a trauma around physical touch and I go over and give them a hug, if they haven't expressed previously that they don't appreciate or that they can't tolerate to be touched, if I don't know that, I will go to hug them and I will be invading their boundary. So this is an opportunity for us to set that boundary. This person can say to me, sorry, but because of past experiences, I don't want to be hugged. So then I respect that boundary, and next time I won't hug the person, I will just say, hello, how are you? For example, people that have been heavily criticized, maybe as children, they might be quite sensitive around being criticized. So if I make a comment that they perceive as a critical thought, they might create a boundary and say, please, I don't appreciate when you criticize the way I look. I will appreciate if you don't make those comments. So it is very important that we communicate to the other person what our limits are. I hope that's clear with everybody. Sometimes people don't respect our boundaries, not because they don't want to, but because they don't fully understand the value they hold for us. This is why it's so important that we communicate in depth the need for them. To be able to respect someone else's boundaries, we need empathy. We need to put ourselves in their shoes. The aim of boundaries are to create a safe space for deeper connection. This allows us to love more consciously. And this concept of creating a safe space, for me, I think, is the most important sacred concept that we need to keep in mind at all times in our relationships. Sometimes we might not understand the other person's experience because we didn't go through that, so we don't understand it. But when we activate our empathy, even though we might not understand it, we can see that it is important for the other person. So we are creating a space where the other person feels safe. Sometimes in relationships, because we don't understand it, we say, well, that makes no sense. Why would you set a boundary like that? But if we keep in mind that it's so important that the other person feels safe so that we can go deeper into compassion, deeper into love, we will open our heart and create that boundary, that safety space where both of us can truly be who we are, where both of us can express our deepest fears, our deepest emotions. We can just be vulnerable with each other. So how do you know you have unhealthy boundaries? You feel alone and separate all the time. Obviously, we all feel alone and separate sometimes, but when it's a theme, so all of these things is like when it's a theme, obviously we all have these experiences sometimes, but when it's a current theme in your life, so you feel alone and separate. People around you are scared or intimidated by you. You are scared or intimidated by the people around you. And this is all the time, most of the time. It doesn't feel safe to express yourself. You don't allow others to express themselves. You feel drained after being with people. You drain people around you. You impose your beliefs onto others. You take on other people's beliefs even though they might go against your own values. You don't validate someone else's emotions. You don't validate your own emotions. You are judgmental and overly critical. You feel judged and criticized all of the time. You take everything personally. You avoid responsibility. So in my experience working with people, and I've done these experiments a million times, and it's so interesting. So for me, there are two types of boundaries. Now, ones that are created from a place of fear and one that is created from a place of love. So here we have the two types of boundaries that are created from a place of fear. Is the one that is the no boundary and the wall. So the no boundary is when there is no separation between other people's feelings and thoughts and our own. It's like being a sponge. This can affect us in many ways, physically, emotionally, mentally, and even energetically, spiritually. When we have no boundary, somehow we become a magnet for negativity and we feel overwhelmed. So just imagine if you have no boundary and you are in front of somebody that is highly negative. They're just dumping all of their emotional stuff onto you. So what you're going to do, because you have no limit, you're just going to absorb everything that they're saying, everything that they're feeling. You're just gonna receive it, accept it. Now, what could happen when we do this? We could have physical symptoms. We could actually have a headache. We could have nausea or feel pain in our stomach, in our abdomen. We might just feel that we need to take on what is given to us, and even if we don't really know how to discharge of all this energy, we might go for a day, 2, 3 days, a week, carrying all of this heavy load. So when this happens, when we have no boundary, it's like we can become a magnet for negativity. We can become a magnet for people that will want to dump all of their stuff in us. So just observe yourself, just look back and see if this is something that you do, or that is prominent in your dealings with others. This ultimately will create some form of resentment and some form of, just want to run away from people. The second type of boundary is the wall. Now, when we use the wall boundary, we isolate ourselves as a way to protect ourselves. We put ourselves in a box or behind a wall. It is true that we keep negativity away, but we also keep love away. With this boundary, we can't feel anything from the outside. We feel isolated. So this second boundary is very much a logical creation from the first one. So when we have no boundary and we're open and we just feel that everybody's downloading all their stuff onto us, to kind of protect ourselves, we build a wall where nothing can enter. No negativity, that's the purpose. We don't want any negativity. But what happens? We're actually also blocking love. So I see this a lot when I work with couples where, there is a healthy relationship and one person feels unloved. And it's not necessarily because the other person is not loving, but because this person is so guarded, so protected, that they can't feel the love. So when we have the wall, what happens? The negativity, let's say, comes, and because it hits our wall, it goes back to the person that sent it. And that looks like a great thing. But the same thing happens with love. When the other person is sending us love, what happens? Love bounces back. We can't feel it, we can't receive it. The other person probably will feel that their love is not wanted, or their love is not needed, or is not good enough. Imagine this dynamic between a parent and a child. If the parent has the wall and the child is loving the parent and the child feels that love being bouncing back, how would that child feel? That child will probably feel rejected, will probably feel not good enough, will probably feel like their love is not wanted. So then we move to the boundary created from a place of love. So this is the boundary that we really want to create. The other two are coming from a place of fear, but the boundary of empowerment is coming from a place of love. So when we use the boundary of empowerment, we are in a place of self-love and self-acceptance. Therefore, we don't become attached to negativity, and we connect with the true essence of our being as pure love. When we empower ourselves, our presence can empower others. We're going to do an exercise now shortly, because I really want you to have a feeling of what is it to have a boundary of empowerment. So as I see it, boundaries are not about protecting yourself because you're under attack, but boundaries are about respectfully connecting you with others. The more respect you have for yourself, the more respect you show to others. Therefore, others will learn how to respect you. So let's do this exercise now for a moment, okay? So I just want you to close your eyes, and I just want you to take a deep breath. And just allow that breath to move freely through your body. Visualize that breath going in through your nose and traveling all the way down to your feet, and traveling all the way up out through your nose or your mouth. So just do this deep breathing a few times until you feel fully connected. I would like you now to visualize a golden energy ball between your heart and your stomach. This golden energy radiates self-love, self-acceptance, and self-respect. Now, allow this golden energy to expand until you are surrounded by it, like you are inside a golden egg. Become aware of how you feel when you are inside this boundary of empowerment that radiates self-love, self-acceptance, self-belief. Self-love, self-acceptance, and self-respect. Visualize yourself within your golden egg. This is your boundary of empowerment. When you are in a place of self-love, self-acceptance, and self-respect, nothing of a lower vibration can interfere with your energy field. No thought, no emotion, no physical experience can interfere with your well-being when you are in a boundary of empowerment, where you radiate the energy of self-love, self-acceptance, and self-belief. Keep saying to yourself, I am self-love, self-acceptance, and self-respect. I am self-love, self-acceptance, and self-respect. Visualize yourself within your golden egg, your sacred space, your boundary of empowerment. And I would like you to visualize a person, whoever pops into your mind, somebody that you probably find difficult to hold your boundary, to hold your space. I want you to see them outside your golden egg. Just keep the energy within your golden egg strong, repeating to yourself, I am self-love, self-acceptance, self-respect. And I want you to become aware what is happening between you and the other person. What happens when you are in the presence of somebody that is difficult for you to hold your boundaries, and you're now able to hold your space. You're now able to be in a place of self-love, self-acceptance, and self-respect. So I want you to remember this experience, and I want you to create this golden egg 1,000,000 times a day until it becomes automatic. It is our responsibility to manage our energy. So if we find that somebody is invading our energy, it is our responsibility to establish our energy in a way that cannot be invaded. So it's important that we put the focus on ourselves instead of the other. The thing is, we don't have power over the other person, but we have power over ourselves. So anytime that you feel you have no boundary, that you're like a sponge, or anytime that you feel you've created this wall of protection, I want you to become aware that those two boundaries are coming from a place of fear. Now, the golden egg boundary is coming from a place of love and high vibration. And that's the way how we hold a healthy space between ourselves and others. Now, we need healthy boundaries to practice personal power, to be in our power. Personal power is an inner strength and confidence that carries us forward through the toughest times. Our relationship with boundaries and personal power obviously starts in our childhood, and it starts especially in the relationship with our parents. So some of us had authoritarian parents, other ones we had neglectful parents, and the very few lucky ones had empowered parents. Power is neither good or bad, it's how we use it. So when we use power in a passive-aggressive manner, it becomes manipulation. When we use power in an aggressive way, it becomes domination. When we use power in an empowered way, it becomes inspiration. So to be in our power, to be fully present and express all that we are and everything that's available to us in this moment, we need to feel safe from deep within. When we feel the need to look for safety outside ourselves, it means that we have lost our sense of power. But when we reclaim that sense of safety from within, knowing that we always have it, then we can deal with whatever is happening on the outside because we're in alignment with that sense of safety. In the same way, when we have to take action, if that action is driven by the fear of what other people might say or do, then we are giving away our power to act. Our motivation no longer comes from the inside, but from the outside. Our motives for action need to have their anchor within us, so that our actions are in alignment with the truth of who we are right now. How we use our power to manipulate. So, silence, the silent treatment. I won't say a word, so you won't know what I think or what I feel. Through dishonesty, through flattery, through people-pleasing, through codependency. How we use our power to dominate. Invading someone else's space through aggression, such as hitting, shouting, or inappropriate touching, through slagging or joking or being sarcastic, talking too much, just never allow another person to say a word, emotional dumping, criticism, blame, or dismissiveness. Now, this is a very interesting concept, the energy drainers. Whatever the situation, we need to be aware of our projections, our needs, and how we read people. And we need to stay within our power. So we usually project aspects of ourselves that we haven't taken ownership onto somebody else. And we made them guilty of how we're feeling. We sometimes project our needs onto somebody. So especially in relationships, it's like, it's your job to make me happy. If I'm not happy, it's because of you. It has nothing to do with me, it's just because of you. You're not making me happy. So we drain our energy. We can also drain somebody else's energy. So how do we deal with these energy drainers? How do we react in these situations? So just think about it. How do you react in these situations? What happens when you are in the presence of someone who is consciously or unconsciously trying to suck everything out of us, to drain our power? What are our options when we are on the receiving end of these behaviors? For example, one is to separate from the other person. But this should only be necessary in extreme cases, and it will often compound the original problem. Sometimes our desire to disconnect is a rationalization, because energetically we are still aiming for that wounded place of abandonment or isolation. As a result, we might create dramatic scenarios and excuses, and we paint the other person as one thing and ourselves as something else. When that snowballs, it gives us an excuse for separating and being alone. It's a domino effect. One thing happens and it triggers something inside of us, so we disconnect to protect ourselves from being hurt. We tell ourselves, I cannot trust her or him. She or he shouldn't be my friend anymore, or my partner, or whatever. But that just feeds the wound of abandonment, rejection, and betrayal. And at the end of the day, we are still suffering. So the key is to be aware and look at what the relationship is giving us. Of course, if it's always draining, it might not be worth nurturing. But whatever the situation, we need to be aware of our projections, our needs, and how we read other people. Are we being understanding of what they are or what they are at? Another way of dealing with energy drainers is to react. What options do we have here? We could be angry, we could be sad, we could be defensive. But what's the purpose of those types of reactions? It could be to gain control and keep a sense of power for ourselves. And depending on the person's personality, that could manifest by going either inward or outward. But let's say we start in neutral mode, neither empowered nor disempowered. The key then is to simply focus on our own issues. Focus on what other people's actions trigger in us. If we feel that we don't trust other people most of the time, then we know that that is something for us. It's a theme that we have. It's a wound that we have. In a case like that, it can be helpful to change environments, even if only briefly, just to see if our reactions are different. Now, what would be the empowered way of dealing with this situation? The answer is to stay within our own power. The truth is that we always have a choice. We can react as we've always done, from a place of unconscious wounds, or we can try to become conscious of our center and act from a place of awareness. So what is empowerment? To be empowered, we need to have a sense of our own personal power, to have a sense of safety from within, freedom to express ourselves in every way, and energy to take action. Staying in our power is about knowing and holding our inner space and being in alignment with that space. It means that no matter what happens in our lives, we choose to remain present and aware. And I just would like you to ask yourselves right now, do you feel safe in your body? Or in which situations you don't feel safe in your body? Do you feel emotionally safe? With whom in your life you feel emotionally safe and with whom in your life you don't? Mentally, with who in your life you feel free to express your thoughts, your beliefs, and with who you don't? And energetically, is there people in your life where you feel drained, you feel suffocated, you feel invaded energetically? And which are the people that you feel spacious and grounded? Just think for a few moments. Because our confidence, our sense of self always comes from a place of inner safety. If we don't feel safe, we can't be ourselves. Sometimes those threats are real. They belong to that person. They belong to our relationship with that person. But other times, those threats belong to the past and we project them and we put them on to that person. So it's very important that we analyze ourselves and see if the threats that we are experiencing around us, do they belong to the here and now, to this moment, or if it's something that we carry from the past and we are recreating in our relationships. A way to know this is when we use the words always or never. People are always annoying me. They never love me. So when we make these generalizations, we're usually talking about an unconscious wound or an unconscious pattern. The gift of our wounds is the key to empowerment. If we want to be in our power, to be in alignment, then we will have to go to those places that are disempowered, because those are the places where we will find empowerment. So if we truly want to be in healthier relationships, if we want to feel safe in our relationships, if we want to experience freedom so that we can be who we are, we need to go and look at those aspects of ourselves that we reject, that we don't love, those aspects of ourselves that we have separated from because we have judged them as not being good enough, as being a threat to our safety. So this is where our life journey of healing and self-awareness comes into place. Finding support within ourselves. How can you support yourself right now? Open your mind to the different possibilities, and you will be able to connect with the dynamic of self-support. Only when we connect with that energy within ourselves, the internal support, we can connect with the external support. How we use our power, empowerment. The truth is that we have a choice. We always have a choice. That's what freedom is, to choose. So we can react as we've always reacted, from the place of our unconscious wounds, or we can try to become conscious of our center, become conscious and be in alignment with our freedom, be in alignment with who we are. So to create empowered relationships without the drama, how to have relationships without the drama, it's so important that we become aware of our own space, that we create healthy boundaries, and that we are in alignment with our inner freedom, that we create a safe space, a safe container within myself and the other person, where I can be myself at every single level, physically, emotionally, mentally, and energetically. So what is the difference between giving your power away and staying in your power? We give our power away when we are experiencing fear and we somehow feel forced to react in an unconscious way. We stay in our power when we connect with our inner safety and we're able to express ourselves with confidence and in alignment. I hope you enjoyed this talk on boundaries and self-power, personal power. If you're interested in knowing a bit more about my work, I've written 7 books. I teach online courses. I do sessions for couples, for individuals, I teach groups. You can go to my website, Empowered Relationships, and have a look at everything that I offer. It's been a pleasure to share this knowledge with you. Hope to see you soon. And if there's any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them now. Thank you.